Preview.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of Viv Talks. It's a segment where we take on everyday kind of questions that we receive from our clients or leads, and we try to address them in a way that's closest to the reality. In this session, we're going to tackle some myths and what we think is closest to reality based on those certain topics. Let's get started. I think this one is a common misconception. A lot of people do think that moving from one place to another is going to give them sort of a brand new life. But let me just say it, and then you can give your thoughts. Moving to Portugal automatically improves your quality of life. What do you guys think?
I think that depends on so many factors. Where are you moving from? What kind of life did you have? I mean, to me, that's a little bit subjective, okay, because improving my quality of life may mean something for me and it may mean something else for you, Miriam, and for you, Victor. But I mean, if we're talking about the main things that I think are important for people, if you're talking about safety, that's a big one for me. So if you're talking about safety, for sure, your quality of life will improve, probably depending on where you come from. Portugal is one of the safest countries, still list of safest countries, so Portugal is right up there. So for me, when you're talking about safety, definitely as a woman, I feel completely, I live in Lisbon, it's a big city, and I feel completely fine walking home at night at 10 p.m.
I agree that changing to a new country is not always the answer for your issues you have in your home country. There are people that, I can see that they change for the sake of changing. So they want something new. So, and they choose Portugal because Portugal is so popular nowadays, but they don't think about the real reasons for this change. So yeah, as Rita mentioned, there are so many good things about Portugal. Safety is one of them. The pace of life here is different, cost of living as well. So yeah, just a deep thinking about the reasons why you decide to move, it's something very important, but that's not automatic. I don't think that moving will just solve your problems just for the sake of moving.
100%. And it's also about the kind of lifestyle that, moving also requires certain changes in lifestyle, right? It's about how willing you're to adapt to certain new situations as well. In the same theme, there's also a misconception that you can move to Portugal without planning or without really thinking about your visa situation long term. What do you guys think about that?
Wow, to me, that's like, no way you can move to Portugal and actually live here, be a temporary resident without planning. There are many steps you need to think about in terms of bureaucracy, housing, where you want to live, so many things. I think it's a terrible idea not to plan. Whether you choose to go, to have someone to help you or not, you need plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We don't know what we don't know, right? If you just go with your guts and okay, I'll do the move, and in 3 months I'll be in Portugal. That's usually not how it works, and probably the area where people struggle the most when moving to a new country is the trying to, how can I say this, to follow planning is very important, and follow the plan is also very important. But when people just go do the thing without thinking too much, they won't be able to time the move correctly. They can also fall into some pitfalls, some issues along the way, and then okay, they moved to Portugal, but if they did that before, they would be saving money later. Those type of things that we only realize when we receive a payment request, and it's too late. But there's so many steps in the process, right, Rita? We've been, that's our business. We work with planning and putting that plan into a practice, right?
Yes, and It's interesting to talk about this. And I think that some people just don't know. And it's okay. You don't have to know about all visa processes across the world. So a lot of people ask me, oh, just give me a checklist of documents. Give me
Yep.
a checklist of documents and tick, 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 boom, boom, boom. Here we go. That's not really how it works. There's timing. There's timing to some documents. You can't get them too early. There's the visa appointment, there's housing, and everything has a specific timing. Has you should do this before this. If you have a house to sell and back home, you should sell that at this time so you don't pay capital gains and both. Like so many little things that you need to think about. It's not just about having a huge checklist of what documents you need and there you go. It's really not. So
And not only that, Rita, we also have to plan things going out of plan, and that
yes.
happens so much. We
Mm-hmm.
rely on
Unpredictable.
appointments, we rely on documents being issued, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very rare to see a case where like it goes perfectly according to the plan. So yeah,
Very rare. It happens,
it
but it's not common, you know.
I'd say moving to Portugal, how it's on Google is not the same as moving to Portugal in reality. So
Mm-hmm.
while you can find a checklist of documents or you can find the list of how to move, doesn't really mean that you know how many months before you need to do certain things or when each deadline comes next. So it's important to be in touch with someone who knows this in and out and who can give you an answer that's 100% close to what the process is like now, just to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And it's a lot of information out there
it
for
is.
everything nowadays. You can't trust it all. You really need to go to the official websites, the official Portuguese government website, or a specialist. Yeah.
So the next myth, it's actually not a myth. I think it's more of a question that expats have a concern when they don't know Portuguese and they're trying to learn or they're not really good at it in the beginning, which is also a normal process, is everyone speaks English everywhere. That's a common one.
You want to start this time, Victor? I have my opinion, but
I can start on that. Yes. Not true. Not. I mean, if you go to those more like big cities like Lisbon, Porto, Braga, you'll see many people speaking English. It's very
mhm.
common to just walk on the street and listen to people speaking English more and more. I remember that some years ago that was not the case, but yeah, on like living in big cities, I don't think Portuguese will be a big of an issue. But I always recommend trying to learn at least the basics to start the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. If nowadays, if you most places in Lisbon, people will speak English, and we actually, Miriam, we get a lot of complaints from our clients who become friends, and they're like, "I want to practice my Portuguese," and I
But
walk
no,
in and I
yeah.
say "Bom dia," and they're like, "Good
You
morning."
know,
I just wanted to
how do I
practice.
practice my Portuguese?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but most people in big cities, they will speak English.
yeah,
They'll hear you have an accent and they'll want to practice their English with
yeah.
you. So anyway, but if you go to smaller interior, like if you go on some trips around the country, the smaller the city, the less likely. That's my experience. I've been to very small cities where, well, I speak Portuguese, so I don't have that issue, but where definitely they did not speak English. I agree with you, Victor. Start even if you're not going to learn the full language because it is a difficult language. It's not an easy language. Learn how to say good morning and thank you. I think people really appreciate that you're trying.
And they don't speak English because they're not supposed to. You know, you're moving to another country. They're
Good
not
point.
supposed to speak your language.
Yeah.
You're the one that has the responsibility to learn Portuguese because you made the
Yes,
decision to move.
for sure.
And it's great when expats do try and learn the language before they move, so they have a bit of knowledge. They can have some conversations, and obviously the locals appreciate it more. Like, it's just natural for
Yes,
them.
that's true.
Yeah.
100%.
But I can see the difference. I'm spending
Yeah.
some days here in Spain, and it's not like that at all. It's
Mm-mm.
hard to to you
Yeah.
can see people kind of having a hard time to communicate here because they do speak Spanish. That's the
Yeah.
reality.
There's
Yeah.
less people who speak English, right?
Yeah.
Much less.
Okay, guys, next one is actually about consulates, and it's about all consulates process visas the same way.
Mhm.
Hot.
Yeah. No, that's not the case. Depending on where you go, it's it'll be different. Victor, you can talk a little bit about.
No, that makes. I agree with you, Rita. The even though there is a like standard documents checklist, how they interpret the requirements can vary. Just for instance, the accommodation part, the rental.
Yes.
Some conflicts they request a, I don't know, 6 months rental, others like 1 year. There's some
Yeah.
more flexible ones that allows for like a booking reservation. It can change not only in the same country, but I mean not only like worldwide, but in the same country you can see that there's different ways of presenting the documents depending on where you apply for the visa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess this is
Yeah.
one of the hard things about our job, that we need to
Yes.
be aware of what's going on in each
Yeah.
individual consulate. So it's a big
It's
deal.
tricky.
It's
Yep.
tricky.
Yeah. We know
And
for
about
sure. Sorry, Mary. Go
no,
ahead.
no,
Yeah.
it's good.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Also about processing times, I think it also drastically
Mhm.
depends. So we have, for example, a case where there were two approvals that we received in Miami within 15 days, but that's not the reality for every consulate. And it's not like we can base that estimate on other applications or really quote that as our standard approval rate
No,
or timeline.
no. And it's important to differentiate. Like, we're talking about two different things here. We're
Yep.
talking about VFS centers and consulates, right? They're two different things. Portuguese, right? I mean, so depending on the VFS center, like
Yep.
Miami, sometimes you get really quick response. San Francisco maybe longer, and then this will change all of a sudden. It's very random, so it does make our job tricky, Victor, because then people ask us for, oh, give us an average, and we're like, hard to do because we had someone in San Francisco who got their decision in 3 months time or 4 or 5 months time, and we have someone in Miami who got the decision in 2 months time.
Yep.
And unfortunately,
Yes.
they cannot choose where to apply, right? It's not
Yeah,
because there's one conflict that is easier in the sense
yeah,
documents are easier to get. You cannot choose to apply there because it's based on where you live. So that's, yeah.
yeah,
I think Victor just mentioned another myth just between conversation. It is a question that people do ask, can I apply from this center? And that's not the case. You don't
yeah,
get to choose,
yeah.
unfortunately.
No, you don't.
Only if you move to this other
Yeah.
place, then you would be able to apply. Other than that, you're
Yeah.
restricted.
And you would need to do that before you started the process.
Yeah.
Even though you do get people coming to Portugal with a higher, monthly income, you're also getting them. They eventually become taxpayers. So this is, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but this is a bit controversial. So I want to really clear what I think. So even though they're coming to a country where people have lower wages and they have usually higher monthly income, they do have to become taxpayers. I think
Yep.
some people don't realize that. I actually read some, like very recently on social media, somebody who actually is a very educated person I respect, and she said, "Oh, the digital nomads, they come in and they don't pay the taxes." It's not true. It's not true. It's actually mandatory after 183 days. You cannot come on a D visa, including digital nomad, without eventually becoming a taxpayer. So the other side of the coin there is that they're contributing to the economy. Of course, I believe personally everything needs to be done in a balanced way.
You actually also did address another myth that we did have in the list, and that was you only pay taxes in Portugal once you get residency. And the reality of that is that tax residency can be triggered before your permit has been approved. So again, if you're living in the country for 183 days, you are automatically a tax resident. So you will have
Yeah.
to start paying taxes.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Another myth related to visas, and I think this is going to give you guys a nice laugh, stress laugh, in fact. You can switch visas easily once you're in Portugal.
Switch visas. After you apply for a visa, you need to stick to it. So if
Yeah.
it's a D7 visa, for example, you will receive your visa granted, and then you come to Portugal and you will convert this visa to a permit, to a residence permit. So after that, there is no reason to change visas. Just
Yep.
after the visa is granted, there's no reason to change. So you can start living here as a resident and life and live here. While in the visa process, it's important to emphasize that you only choose the visa when you apply for the visa. Before that, we are only gathering documents. So after you apply for the visa, you will have to wait for the decision. And in case of a denial, because that's not the visa you should be applying to, you have to apply again to the other visa. You cannot just change visas because you are not eligible, but you have to apply again for the new type of visa. That's usually how it goes.
And in that certain case, you would also have to meet the requirements. So let's say you first applied for the passive income visa, and then between the journey, somewhere along the way, you get a remote job and you decide to, not show that passive income source or just rely on your remote job. It's not something that you can change in between. So
That's
important to keep that.
that's a good one, and not easy
Yeah.
to answer.
I can, the way that I like to answer this is that if you initially apply for a visa, you need to stick to that
Yep.
until you get your temporary resident card. You cannot change between applying for the visa and getting your temporary residency. You stick to the passive income profile. Okay, you cannot change because that's not going to be good for you. You may not even get your temporary resident card then, right? So you cannot change. Once you have that first temporary resident card, that's valid for 2 years. Because what some people don't understand is you get the visa, but the end goal of getting the visa is getting temporary residency,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, you get passive income. You cannot change until you get your temporary residence. Once you get that, that's valid for 2 years. Your life may change. And like you said, Miriam, you may find a great remote work outside of Portugal. And then you're like, you know what? I don't need this passive income anymore. And I'm surviving off payslip from my digital nomad job. When do you need to show that? In 2 years' time, when you renew, yes, your status may have changed, but you need to prove it. In renewal, you can change with proof, but initially, you cannot change. So I don't know if that's like clear.
No, the idea is that when you renew it in 2 years, you need to prove that you still have your financial situation settled in a way that you can live in Portugal. Because if you find a job that pays you just not an amount that would allow you to live in Portugal, then maybe your request will be denied.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
So the next myth, I'm not sure if I would really call this a myth though, but healthcare is completely free.
Not completely free.
Yeah.
Most times you pay a small fee. Actually, this is very good because there's. I know that the payment you have to conduct for using a public health system has changed the law because in the beginning you have to pay just a very small fee like 3 or 4 euros for some type of consultation, but most are free. You pay taxes and you pay social security, and then you can use the public health care. But I just don't remember now if you still have to pay those small fees to use the public health care. I don't know, Rita, if you are more updated about.
I don't like to talk something I'm not 100% sure on. I would say that if you do pay a fee, it's like a ridiculous fee,
Yeah.
like €5, things like that. If you're going to the public health center, it should be free. But for some things, maybe you pay a very minor fee. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, also, the idea is that you are paying not directly, but through your taxes. So you're paying in a way. But yeah, when you go there in person,
Mhm.
most of the times you only have to pay a very, very, very small fee to use the
Yes.
system.
Hmm.
And it's still true that a lot of expats, and also it's normal for you to use private insurance for speed and convenience and just,
Yeah.
more options, I guess. Even if public healthcare is still an option, there's still people who are going to use insurance and private hospitals.
Yes. I always suggest having both, but
Yep.
actually I know many Portuguese people who don't. They just use public. Okay. I guess they're more used to it.
Hmm.
I have both, and the reason that I have both public and private is because if I have not something major, okay, but if I have something minor like a fever or things like that, I prefer to go to private because I'll be seen within an hour maybe. And if I have to do an operation, or I'll go to public because it's better quality, but I will have to wait like probably a month or more to have that scheduled. I
Hmm.
don't know. That's what do you think, Victor?
Well, it's very personal. I agree with this approach. Private system tends to be quicker. So yeah, in some situations, it would be advisable to have a private insurance.
Hey guys, another one that's actually been really, really, really highlighted in the news. The new nationality law means all efforts to obtain citizenship were lost. Now we're talking about old applications versus new applications.
Not
Uh,
lost. I mean, what really, I mean, in this new law, there are many new rules. One of them is the waiting time for the citizenship. And now it has moved from 5 to 7 or 10 years. I mean, this is a common topic when I'm talking to people, and I guess Rita will agree that
mhm.
most people, they are not really thinking about the citizenship when moving to Portugal. They are more interested in living in a better place, and just living in Portugal, and citizenship just comes along. It's a plus. You can apply
Yeah.
for citizenship. That's, I mean, not for everyone, for sure. There are some people that are
Yeah.
really, really, really looking for the citizenship. But yeah, my take on this is that people, I mean, that the effort won't be in vain. They will just have to wait for longer to apply for the citizenship.
Yeah, and it's important to emphasize that permanent residency has not gone away. So if you're a temporary resident for 5 years, you can still apply for permanent residency. And I get the question a lot, what's the biggest difference between the two, between permanent residency and citizenship? And the biggest difference to me is that with an EU passport, you can actually live and work anywhere in the EU. That's a specific profile who really wants that. And some people, permanent residency is all they need, because permanent residency is a more flexible, it's more flexible than having a temporary resident card. You can spend more time outside of Portugal. It's a 5-year card. Okay, so you don't worry about anything for 5 years, no renewals. Yeah, and what your question, Miriam, and it's an interesting question because so people who before the new law, people who had already submitted their applications, okay, they're not going to lose their right for
Yep.
citizenship. Okay, so if your application is submitted, you're
You're
safe.
safe.
Unfortunately, if you have temporary residency for 2, 3, 4.5 years,
Yeah.
you really
Yeah.
lost that. You really lost that benefit of being able to apply. So yeah, that's how things go. I don't know if many people know this, but actually Portugal was like the last country that had the 5 years you can apply for citizenship. Most EU countries, it's within 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right, Victor? I hope I'm not saying it.
Yeah, and on just a take on that, Rita, is that even though those people that are waiting for 4.5 years waiting, there are a lot of, I mean, we are living in a time where it just happened, just some, I guess,
Mhm.
weeks ago.
Very recent, very
And
recent.
people are always are also considering starting, some procedures to I mean, allow them to still apply for the citizenship. So we're still waiting to see how it will be the whole situation. But if you go according to the rules, what Rita mentioned is 100% correct. You do need
Yeah,
you have to apply for the citizenship to be in those 5 years
yeah.
timeline.
Hmm.
Good answers, guys. So I guess let's do two more. So the second last one is Portugal is ideal for retirees only.
Oh, okay. Portugal is very good for retirees. I have to say, Portugal is like paradise for retirees. It's a place where you can go to the beach, you can go to the mountains. It's beautiful. If you like wine, you can visit, what's it called? Oh my God,
uh,
wine.
Wineries.
Wineries, can go on a boat trip on the Douro. Your day-to-day life, is peaceful. It's great. You're not looking for a job. So I do think it's very good for retirees. If it's only good for retirees, I think so. I think this is hard to answer because it's a wonderful country, but if I'm being 100% honest, maybe it's good for digital nomads because you already have a job. When it comes to the job market, it's a hard job market to get into. I'm having a hard time
No, I
answering this.
agree. I agree
Yeah.
with that. Makes total sense. For retirees, it's a perfect country, almost perfect country. It
Yeah.
is, the cost of living is low in most cases, and it's a beautiful country. And the pace of things here is very slow. So you can just chill out, not so people are not in a rush all the time. So it's good to live here in this very chilled out environment. If you receive your pension from another country, for sure you can live here well. But yeah, if you're looking for jobs here, as we spoke before, you can live here. It's not that's impossible. More and more, it is getting hard to settle in some big cities here, and based on the
Yes, it is.
Portuguese
That's true.
wage.
Yeah, it's true.
And
It's a fact.
and what about entrepreneurs, young families, or remote workers?
Entrepreneurs, I do think that if you're someone who's a businessman or businesswoman, there are opportunities here in Portugal, and that's because being more like a traditional country, more conservative in some sense, you can find areas where there's a need of improvement in many
Yeah.
many different sectors actually. So the thing is, there are so many things to take into consideration. One of them is who will be using your service, if it's Portuguese people or foreigners.
Yeah.
That will make a difference. But I do think that there's a lot of opportunities here in Portugal for people who want to do business here.
You can find niches. There are some if you're that kind of person, very business oriented, and you do your research, you can find places where things are lacking. So I agree. And also families, Miriam, I think it's a good place for families. So as a family, if you have passive income, you can actually come on a D7, and I think it's good.
The schools here are quite good as well. Most of the times, right, Rita, for the kids.
Yes, you have the public system is pretty good. Of course, the public schools have a ranking. Okay. So wherever it is you go in Portugal, you can see the ranking online, and there's some really good public schools. And for people who prefer to have international schools, you have all types. You have British schools, American schools, German schools, French schools, bilingual schools, trilingual schools. There are a lot of options.
And diversity within those schools is also pretty amazing. So
Yes.
we
Yes.
do see some young families with younger kids, maybe below the ages of 10, that relocate, and it's also easier for them to learn Portuguese and enroll
Hmm.
in public schools. So that's also
Yeah.
something, a pattern that we keep seeing as well.
Yes.
So last one, and let me know if you don't want to address this one as the last one, or if you want to say something else. I think this is a nice one because when you're moving countries, you are essentially starting your life from scratch, which also means starting and building your social life from scratch. And when you're moving to a country where you don't know anyone, it can be overwhelming, especially if you're moving alone. or even if you're moving with your family, it's still as overwhelming. So, how do you guys feel about this myth? You'll immediately make local friends.
I don't think so.
I don't agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. Even though most Portuguese people are very friendly and polite and gentle, they'll help you, they'll be friendly at a cafe. To break that barrier and become friends, it's not so easy. Doesn't mean it's not possible. What I'm saying is it'll take, you need to go for it. You need to put effort into doing that. Do research around your area. What kind of community events happen there?
Mm.
What can I participate in? It'll have to come from you, or else you're not going to make
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
We do have many clients slash friends who they do have much more. I mean, they have many more friends than I do living here in Portugal for like 8 years, and it's all. Yeah, I agree with you, Rita. It's all about they looking forward to making new friends, the effort to do that, and it comes naturally. Just yeah, it's just being there, talking to people, because there's many people that are also looking to make friends here, either they are expats or not. So yeah, it's just a matter of you guys getting to know each other, and it goes like naturally.
And there are events that happen if you really, like I said, you have to put in the effort. For example, in Lisbon, there's an event where it's something like expats, mixed or immigrants. I prefer the word immigrants, okay? But
Yeah.
so immigrants mixed with local Portuguese. It's an event that happens every so often
That's nice.
to mix people, to share experience. So yeah, you have to put in that.
And the good news is there are multiple communities that exist, and it's just about putting yourself out there as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you for joining. Thank you for addressing these myths and for giving us answers that people always look for.
Thank you,
All right.
Miriam.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
in the next session.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.